Hey folks, Colin here from Something's Recording, and today I'm going to show you one trick to get more energy out of your drum room mics. We're going to be talking about compressing room mics today, but before we dive in, if you are ready to go a little bit deeper into the mixing process and start honing your workflow as an engineer, then I have just the tool for you. This is my 7-step mixing checklist. It's a simple PDF that will guide you through the whole mixing process, step by step, to help you get professional and radio-ready mixes without the hassle and without the guesswork. It is completely free, and you can download it using the link in the video description. Now let's jump in here and look at this room mic. Let me start by playing you the drums inside the finished mix here, and then I will solo up the drums so you can hear just the drums. Then we'll hone in on our room mic here, and we'll talk about the compressor that we're using to get a little bit more energy out of our room mics and an alternative that you can use to go even further. So we'll start here. Here's the finished mix. So here's the drums inside our finished mix.
One step, and it's much too far. Take 2 steps, way too close, but take 3 steps, and I'm into your arms. I'll do all it takes to get to your heart. One step. Much too far.
So that's our room mic there by itself, and you can hear the energy, the push, and the pull that we're getting from just this mono room mic. And the way we're getting that is by using this FC670, this Fairchild style compressor from Studio One from PreSonus here. This is a great little plugin actually to get just a little bit of extra energy from your room mics. Here's our EQ. So we're pulling out quite a bit from our room mics. So we're kind of neutering them a little bit, right? Getting rid of all of the cymbal sound, pulling out quite a bit of low mid here to make sure they're not muddy and they're not muddying up the rest of our drum mix. But we're adding a little bit of power here below. But the main energy we're getting is from just this compressor. Take a look. We'll do a before and after, without and then with. Just 3 to 5 dB compression from this compressor really helps to push our kick and snare to the forefront, but it's not pushing the whole room mic forward, right? It's not just pulling up gain on our room mic. It's just pushing our kick and snare forward a little bit. It gives our kick a little bit of weight, and it gives our snare a little bit of extra attack to give the room mic that push and pull, right? So you feel it jump forward for your kick, goes back. You feel it jump forward for your snare, and it goes back. So it has that nice push and pull to give the rest of our drum mix a little bit of extra energy and a little bit of extra oomph on our kick and snare, which are, of course, our prominent elements in our drum kit here. All we're doing, we have our time constant all the way up because we want it to let go in between our kick and snare. That's what gives it that push and pull, because our compressor is moving in time with our kick and snare. The input gain, I believe I just pushed up a little bit from where it starts, so the room mic was pushing a little bit harder into the compressor, and we're just doing about 3 to 5 dB compression, about 3 dB on our kick drum and about 5 dB compression on our snare drum. Just helps to push them out front a little bit more. Just the vintage vibe of this compressor gives our kick drum a little bit of extra weight and a little bit of extra beef down below, and then doing that 5 dB of compression on our snare drum helps give it that extra attack and emphasize it on those snare drum notes. Take a listen one more time, before and after. This time we'll start with, and I'll pull it out and take a listen to the energy drop. So the compressor takes our room mics from being pretty dull, pretty flat, and pretty boring sounding to having some energy, to having some push, to having some vibe from this vintage style compressor, and having a little bit of extra excitement as well. So it takes them from being pretty boring to being a little bit more exciting. So it's something we can pull up under the rest of our drill mix to add a little bit more energy and add a little bit more vibe. So let's put it inside the rest of our drill mix and we'll do an A/B on this compressor. It's going to be a little bit more subtle inside the drill mix as a whole, but pay attention to how our kick and our snare change when we throw this compressor in. To me, it's not so subtle. It's a little bit more clear on the kick drum. It helps bring up those lower notes on the kick drum and still give them the same amount of beef and the same amount of power as the bigger notes. So it helps even out the low end on the kick drum for me because we're getting that little bit of boost of energy from our room mic. We get that little bit of fatness from this compressor here. And I hear a little bit of extra attack, a little bit of extra slam on our snare drum when we throw this compressor in. The alternative route you can go with your room mics is to just completely annihilate them. So we'll pull in another compressor here. And we're going to use, this time we'll go with the 1176 style compressor. We're going to go slowest attack, fastest release. We'll go all buttons in, and we'll pull our output down. And we'll just push really aggressively into this compressor and see what we get by just slamming it. So that's more slammed all the way across the board. You hear that push and pull into the compressor rather than just on your kick and snare. It's more all the way across the board on the entire room sound. We get a little bit more room noise from this compressor. So if you want to wake up the room sound on your mono room mic like this, if you're just working with a simple mono room mic and you want a little bit more room tone out of it, smashing it like this with an 1176 style compressor will get you a little bit more of that room vibe while also emphasizing the attack on your kick and snare. That's why we're using our slowest attack and fastest release. So it doesn't quite, slam our kick and snare. It doesn't get rid of our transient or neuter our attack, but it lets go fast enough as well because we have our release fast enough that it's not holding anything down. We're doing about, you can see 10 dB of compression. And you could also, if we go even further, let's go. So we're going to make our low frequency shelf and high frequency shelf, and we'll go at about, we'll put 2 dB at 100 hertz and 2 dB at 5K. Take a listen to what this does. So we've used the compressor to emphasize the attack on our kick and snare, but it brings up a little bit too much room noise. So we're just going in here, pulling out about 2 dB at 400 hertz, so it gets rid of a little bit of that mud that we brought up from the room with the compressor. And then we go at 100 hertz using a low shelf, and we pull up, we're doing 4 dB here, so it seems like a little bit much for a room mic, right? But now we're emphasizing even more that attack that we got out of this compressor on the low end on our kick drum. And then we're doing a little bit up top here, just 2 dB shelf at 5K. So everything above 5K gives us a little bit more snack on our, a little bit more smack, not snack, on our snare drum. But it doesn't go too far because we have, again, that roll off, that low pass filter up top. So one more time, listen as a whole, what we're doing with these plugins here. So this compressor and this EQ. So let's put this inside the drum mix as a whole here and take a listen to what we get. I zoomed in too much there. So here's that compressor and that EQ on the room mic inside the rest of our drum mix. And we'll start with out and then we'll kick it in, see if we can hear it a little bit more obviously. So that one's a little bit more obvious because the EQ we put after it, but you also hear that a little bit of extra room noise we get from slamming it so hard into an 1176 style compressor like that. This is a little bit too messy for my taste, but if you want to go a little bit more wild, that's probably the route you want to go. If you're just looking for a little bit of extra energy boost on your room mic, try a Fairchild style compressor. Almost said FET style compressor again. Been talking about that FET style compressor too much. Try using a Fairchild style compressor like this. Just 3 to 5 dB of compression, just helping your kick and snare push out front a little bit more to get a little bit of extra energy on your room mic. I hope that was helpful for you. Like I said, if you are ready to take your mixes to the next level and start dialing in your mixing workflow, then I have just the tool for you. My 7-step mixing checklist, simple PDF, completely free, and you can download it below in the video description. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.